All right, welcome to another episode of Closers or Losers. We are back. We've been traveling for the last couple of weeks, so it's good to be back here. I'm in the studio. Matt, our CEO, is actually our co-host. He's actually driving today, so we're going to go ahead and do it in his car. Should be fine. I'm going to do it in the office. Matt, I think your kids keep keeping you up really late at night or something.
Yeah. So, little kids. Sometimes it's part and parcel of the job. So.
Could be trouble. It comes with, hey, dude, I got 5 kids. I know exactly how it is. Like I had my first 4 kids when I was 21, 23, 25, and 27. Literally like 27, had my 4th child, didn't know what was going on. And, got divorced when I was around 30, single for about 5 years, then got remarried and had Sophie 3 years ago when I was like almost 40. And now
I'm like, shock to the system.
It's like a shock to the system. I'm like, I was the young dad with all these like young kids, like they're, I've got 2 kids in college now and I'm just in my early 40s and I've got 2 more that are going to be in college in like 3 or 4 years. So I was like the empty nester, pretty much retired in my mid 40s. And now I'm like starting over with my 3-year-old, but we love her. So appreciate the gift that you guys sent her for her birthday. She actually really liked that.
She's very cute. So.
Well, she takes after her dad. Her mom does look pretty good though too. Okay.
Exactly.
There you go. All right. So today, what I wanted to focus on, because we get a lot of people in our Facebook group, Sales Revolution. And by the way, if you've not joined our Facebook group, Sales Revolution, make sure you go ahead and do that now. There should be a link here on the page. You can join it for free. We go live and train in there about 3 to 4, sometimes 5 times a week. We also give out a lot of golden nuggets for free, which is insane. Little hors d'oeuvres of our training. We give you a little taste of it, okay, that you can go out and apply to your own sales even before you become one of our clients. Okay, we're that generous. You can go to the Sales Revolution Facebook group, join it. We ask you a couple questions, survey questions when you join. It's a little document you fill out so we know what industry you're in, what products or service you sell, and your price points. Helps us better make training for you guys in that Facebook group. And right when you join, we'll private message you a message with a 40-minute free training on objection prevention, how to prevent objections from even happening. So that link should be on here somewhere. Now, today we're going to talk about prospecting, and we're going to talk about how you have to schedule certain times of the day. We call that PTB, or prospect time blocking. I know other people call it different things. I've always called it PTB. And I'm going to talk to you about my sales career over a 16-year sales career and how I blocked out certain parts of the day and why I did that, and how my day was extremely organized all the way from like, let's say 7 in the morning when I started, all the way till I usually got done with work around 4 in the afternoon. I actually wanted to get off early all the time. Sometimes I'd work till 5. It just depends. Okay. So we're going to go over that schedule, and then we're going to go back and forth between me and Matt and how we train our sales teams that sell for other accounts that we have, other companies that we not only train their salespeople, but we hire and we manage their salespeople as well. It's part of our time. Matt, what was your question that you had for me on that? I know you had a series of questions that people asked you in the group.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess what I wanted to do today is almost create a guide that a sort of a sales rep can go off in order to put themselves in the best position to be able to hit their goals financially and, like their sales targets. Because I get asked, one of the things I get asked all the time is like, what were you selling where you were able to make X, Y, Z? And it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with 1, having the right skills, but 2, having a system in place where I take my job as a sales professional seriously enough to where I have every avenue locked up. Yeah. Because there's a difference between closers and sales professionals. That's why this podcast is called Closers or Losers. Yeah. It's because if that's all you're doing, if all you're doing is quote unquote taking inbound warm leads and you're not prospecting, you're not creating a pipeline, you're not getting referrals, you're not doing any outbound, then you're not really a sales professional. And so it's like, what were your thoughts? Like, what were the reasons why, even when you're at that sort of super high heights of, the top 50 most successful salespeople selling anything?
Yeah.
What was your thought process? And like, why did you find that doing that prospect time blocking was so important for you?
Well, I'm just a very structured, organized person when it comes to those type of things. I've learned how to do that from an early age. I grew up on a farm, a ranch. We had like 300 cattle and horses and stuff. So I'd be up at 4 a.m, like very structured day, all the way through school and practice. I played football and baseball in high school. So I just taught as a young age to be structured, and that structure would bring me success because I would get far more done if I was structured than if I obviously was not structured. Okay. So from the very beginning of my life, I've always thought that way. And when I was getting up into that competitive field in the different industries I was in, Matt, when I was, ranked, I think I was one year, I was ranked like number 157th top salesperson in the world selling anything, 150 million salespeople in the world. Then the next year I moved up to like 97. It was like every time I was like, I have to keep learning more advanced skills to even, like, my goal was to be actually in the top 50. Like that was my goal. Because I knew once I got to the top 50 that I was going to start a consulting company and start training salespeople just how to sell a lot more of their products and services. So the quicker I could do that, the quicker I could actually train salespeople how to sell more. Okay. So that was my main objective, my main goal. And so every little bad habit I had, like everything I was doing wrong, I had to replace with the right habit. So I remember going to an event. This was probably in like maybe 2006, 2007. The year before, I'd made almost 800,000 in commissions just that year at my sales job. And I was like, how do I get over $1 million a year in commissions? I was a W-2 salesperson. I remember I went to like this 2-day event and it was all about time management. And I'm like, and I realized that even though I was a structured person, I could get a couple more hours a day worth of work done by just having a better structure. Okay. And I remember that, like in my office, a lot of times when you're a salesperson, everybody knows this, and you're in an office and there's other salespeople around you, what happens? You take breaks, you start BSing, you start getting on your Facebook feeds, and then 30 minutes later, an hour later, you just wasted a whole hour of prospecting time. So what I would do is I had every single part of my day structured. Okay. And I don't remember the exact structure. I mean, this is several years ago that I left my job, almost 3.5 years ago or so. But I remember I would wake up at like 5:15 in the morning and I would go work out. Okay. And that was the first thing I did. I'd get back. I think I woke up at like 5:15. I'd be back by 6:15 in the morning. I would get ready real quick. I was ready by like 6:30. And then I would actually come into my home office. At that point, they were letting me actually even work from home the first little while. Then I'd go in the office later in the day. And for like 30 to 45 minutes, I would just read on sales, 30 to 45 minutes every single day, 6 days a week. Typically, I would read something else on Sunday just because I like history and stuff. Okay. So I was learning every single day for 30 to 45 minutes minimum, sometimes an hour. Then I would drive in the office. It was very close. I actually lived within about 8 minutes of the office on purpose because I didn't want to drive so far. So I lived very close to the office. And I remember I would come in there and right at from like 8 to 9, I would start prospecting because we had a meeting from like 9 to 9:30 in the morning. Okay. Like a sales training, or like a sales meeting with all the salespeople and the sales managers and stuff. So from 8 to 9, rather than me walking in and be like, hey, how's it going? Did you watch the game last night? Like I was beeline to my office and I had like a little, those little, you can go to hotels, like do not disturb signs. Well, mine says I'm prospecting or something like, don't even think it was something funny. Like I'm prospecting, don't knock on the door unless it's like 911. So I remember like I even had a secretary that was just assigned to me like an assistant at that time. And I was just a salesperson. And if it was a 911 emergency, they would literally come to, there's like a little glass window by the door and they would like write 911 and plaster it where I could see it. And I'm like, okay, something's important. Okay. And literally from 8 to 9, prospecting, boom. I didn't have any appointments set there. I didn't have any follow-ups. I didn't have anything. It was like prospecting. All I'm doing is cold calling to find more business. Then I, from like 9 to 9:30, had a meeting. Then I believe I came back in from like 9:30 to like 10:30 and prospected another hour. So before,
when you were doing this, because you're putting so much emphasis on prospecting, I can only assume that you were not getting any leads from the business that you worked for?
I was getting some leads. Like I probably got about 50, about 40 to 50% of all my sales were just from like inbound or outbound leads
So even if you only closed those 50%, you still would have been the highest performer in the company.
Oh yeah, because I closed almost everybody.
Yeah. So the fact that like everybody else, most other people were probably just using the warm leads that came to them.
Yeah.
But you still set the time aside to cold call, and probably that's probably the most difficult form of prospecting, I would say, the most time intensive, arduous, and most technically demanding. Yeah. And you were still doing that. And like, I guess besides just wanting to close more deals and make more money, was there any particular reason why you decided to do that?
Well, that next year I had a goal from going from, I think I'd made like 780,000 the year before. And that next year I wanted to almost double it to 1.3. And I'm like, how am I going to do that? Company's not going to give me more leads. So what am I going to, like, I've got to do something different. So I would say about 40% of all my sales, maybe 45% were straight leads. And then I would say a good 25% were from referrals. I was a madman on referrals. So like every single person I sold, I would say 9 out of 10 of them gave me at least one referral. Some of them would give me 2, 3, or 4 or 5 referrals. So there'd be some days where like I literally didn't have to prospect because I would be so busy with referrals. So I want to make that point clear too. Like if there was times where I had so many referrals, I might have a week where I didn't prospect one call. It was all straight referrals and leads, but then I would run out of referrals, or let's say I called a referral, they didn't answer. Was I just going to sit around for an hour and twiddle my thumbs and watch, Facebook or SportsCenter on my phone? No, I just got back and I started prospecting to make up the time. And I would say a good 25 to 30% of my sales were directly from me prospecting and cold calling. So 25 to 30% of my income, which, let's say in 2012, I made 2.4, almost 2.5 million in sales commissions. So you're talking, let's say if it's 25% of that, 500 grand, 600 grand of that was just for me cold calling. That's a lot of money.
That's more than most people will make ever in a year. So
I know that. Yes.
Yeah. And so I think one of the reasons why I was so adamant about prospecting for me personally, it was a redundancy strategy. It wasn't really for me about making more sales or making more money, because I've just always been so confident in my ability to make money. Even when I wasn't very good at it, to be honest. I was fairly confident that I would figure it out. But for me, it was like, when I came into, being a sales rep that relied almost purely or 100% on commissions, whether that's like whatever industry, I saw that as a huge leverage point. This company had a tremendous amount of power over me if they were providing me all my leads. Because then they could come and go, hey guys, we're halving the commissions. And people who stand up, it's like, sweet, we just won't give you any leads.
Right.
And so I was like, or as I've seen many times before, a business owner can go hyper political, which can dry up leads. And I was like, well, I run commission only and I have a family that I need to take care of.
Yeah.
Like, what do I need to do to make sure that I'm not reliant on anyone?
Yeah.
And that I'm going to be the one. And so the referral strategies, the prospecting strategies, was the way that if I can get 50% of my sales to be self-generated, then I know that 50% of my income is always safe.
Yeah, it's like it's what we would always teach. When I eventually became a sales manager and a VP of sales and became a chief sales officer, and I still sold, actually, believe it or not. But it's what we taught our salespeople, that we taught them, and it's what I believe, that we were the CEOs of our own companies. We were the CEOs of our own pipelines. We are the CEOs of our own book of business. So we treated it more, even though we were a W-2 salesperson working for a company, we treated those leads like we paid for those leads, even though we didn't.
Yeah.
But we treated them that way. And that's like, we had so much results because we didn't get lazy. Like if it was at 5 at night and we're supposed to be getting off at work and there was a lead that came in, guess what we were doing? We were calling that lead because we didn't want to wait it overnight because maybe they don't answer the next day. We wanted to call within 10 or 15 minutes. So I treated like my leads and my prospecting time and my referrals like this was my own business, and I was the CEO of that company. And that's why I made more than the CEO, actually.
I remember when I first came on to 7th level, it was sort of before I was just coming on as a sales rep.
Yeah.
And it was before a lot of things were set up, and I was kind of told, oh, hey, we're going to start marketing in a couple of weeks. And I was like, well, I'm here now. like
Yeah.
everyone else is on salary. I'm not making any money. So I went out and just started selling. And I was like, I guess I'll just figure it out. And then I think it was like 38 memberships in 21 days without any marketing being on.
Yeah, without any marketing, you're just out prospecting yourself. And that makes like, if you're listening and you're a salesperson, take of what Matt just said, because that makes anybody who can learn those skills of prospecting extremely valuable to the business owner. Well, they will pay you far more than anybody else because you're almost generating your own leads. And most people don't know how to do that.
You know, it's funny. I was messaging with Joseph Roberry a while ago, and I might have said this before, but I was like, I feel confident that if I have a Facebook, and I can go into some groups and I can, potentially cold call. It's definitely not my thing compared to you and a few other people, but I know DM setting I'm very, very good at and all that kind of stuff. I feel like I'm confident. That's all I need to make an income, right? And I was like, but Joseph Roberry, all he needs is people in their house. I was like,
he's one of our clients, right? We train him.
Superpower.
Train him and his teams. They sell solar and they just go door to door. And that dude makes $100,000 a month in commissions just knocking on doors. Lots of doors.
That's a superpower, though. All you need to make an income and to generate a high level of income is people inside their house. That's all you need. Yep. It's just, to me, that's just like the level of freedom that you can walk around the world in, knowing that no matter what happens, you're fine. Like it's very interesting, when Marco became really good at sales, and I said to him one day, and I was like, congratulations, man, you never have to worry about money again. And it's not that he was making a crazy amount at that particular time, but he was in a position to where I listened to him sell and I was like, oh, you figured it out. So now you can figure it out no matter where you go and what you do. Yeah. So it's like, congrats, man, you're set.
No, it's so true. I remember as a 21-year-old kid when I was in college, right when I first got into sales, the first sales training event I ever went to was a Brian Tracy event, right? And one thing I really liked his way of looking at the world and like motivation. And he would, our training is a lot different than Brian's. It was more consultative selling. I think ours is more dialogue, NEPQ, obviously. But I love a lot of his motivational stuff. And I love his books, right? That's kind of how I started the process of NEPQ. It's just the beginning of it. And I remember one day at the event, it's like a 3-day event, he said something like this that just changed my life. He's like, once you learn sales, like once you learn selling skills, you can literally like write your own ticket and go anywhere in the world and sell anything and have complete freedom. That's exactly what you just said. Because once Marco, our vice president of sales now, a couple of years ago, he's one of our clients, made over $1 million a year in commissions in 2020. Then we brought him over here as our VP of sales for the entire company, one of our top sales trainers as well. Once you learn those skills, it's like the matrix, right? The blue pill or the red pill. Once you take that red pill, like you can't go back. Can't go back to the old way. And it doesn't matter what you sell. You could sell SaaS tomorrow. And then 3 months later, you're like, I'm tired of that. I want to go sell cars. And then 6 months later, like, I don't want to sell cars. I'm going to sell insurance. And then I don't want to sell insurance. I'm going to sell solar. I'm going to sell solar to cybersecurity, B2B. Like, it doesn't matter what you sell. I want to sell real estate. It doesn't matter. Because once you learn those sales skills and you learn NEPQ, that stands for neuro emotional persuasion questioning, if you guys are new to the podcast, once you learn those skills, you have complete control and you can go sell anything you want. And you're going to be the top salesperson in that company, in that office within a short time. We're talking maybe a few months at the most, depending on the size of the company. And I see so many salespeople, especially in the first industry I came from, it was alarms selling door to door from like when I was 21 to like age 25. I see so many salespeople that would leave that industry and they would go sell insurance or they'd go sell financial services or become a realtor or sell something else. And 6 months later, they were crawling back into alarm sales because they couldn't figure out how to sell anything else. And that's because they don't understand human behavior. They had some type of script that they memorized and a few rebuttals that worked for alarms, worked decently. But then they tried to go over and sell, real estate or insurance or cars, and it just fell flat on its face.
Yeah, I think that's why one of the things that I do a lot in our inner circle calls, the one that I take on a Thursday, is I get everyone to sell products and we role play, but they're not allowed to sell the one that they actually sell.
I like that.
And so what that does is it exacerbates their process like ineptitudes. I guess if that makes sense. Like it's the things that they're worst at, it becomes very obvious. Like if they're not good at pulling out that connection, situation, problem awareness, and they can't get the right information, they can just fall back into word tracks that they're really comfortable with when they're just dealing with their own prospects. But it makes it very, very easy for me as a coach to see, well, that person doesn't actually understand what they're trying to do here.
Yeah, they don't understand the process.
Exactly, because once you understand the process, like that's all that matters. Then you've got it sorted, like you're fixed. Whereas like I did that with our guys yesterday, and I had Ace sell water filtration systems. And Ace has never sold a water filtration system. It was brilliant. I was like, yep, that's a sale every day of the week. And he had no idea what he was selling, but he sold it very well because he knew what to ask, how to ask it. He took a minute beforehand, figured out the problems that he was solving, and then from there, just followed the process. So that's a really good skill set that I like to train people in because it just makes them so much better at the actual process.
Yeah, it's so true because once you understand connecting questions and you understand situation questions and problem awareness and solution awareness and consequence and commitment questions, once you find out what the product or service of the company you're selling for, like what problems it actually solves and what problems they have and how it's affecting them, then you can write out a sales structure no matter what you sell and be just as successful in the other industry. It's the only sales training methodology that I've ever seen. And I have went through everything on this planet. I can tell you that I still do, that actually can go from industry to industry to industry and get crazy results no matter what they sell. 100%.
So moral of the story is understand your process really, really well. If you're having trouble with your particular process, go and join the Sales Revolution group so you can at least get the free training on how to prevent objections, which is going to increase your sales now. And then from there, like set out your prospecting time. Don't be reliant on the business that you're working for. Don't let them be the leverage point between you and your income. And also, like, even if that's not how you view it, imagine if 25% of your sales came from cold outreach and 50% and another 25% of your sales came from referrals, then you would literally double your sales.
It's so true, man, because I see so many salespeople in different companies that we train, and a lot of, some of them will just have inbound leads. And then let's say somebody doesn't show up and they've got an hour on their calendar. What do? They don't do anything. You just sit there twiddling their thumbs, complaining that the leads no-showed. Get on the phone, learn the right prospecting skills, learn what we train you how to cold call in our virtual training courses, problem statements and how to do that. And you can literally start making more sales during the times your appointments don't show up instead of just sitting around, twiddling your thumbs, going on Facebook and moping around. Take control of your situation. Learn the referral process. We teach all of that in our virtual training courses as well, like how to get your prospects to give you tons of referrals, not by just saying like, oh, hey, who would you know that wants to blah, 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 blah. Like nobody's just going to do it that. There's an exact process. There's a series of questions that you need to learn how to ask that allow your prospect to want to give you referrals and actually vouch for you and sell on your behalf. That's going to be far more powerful. All right, Matt, that's all the time we've got for today. We wanted to keep to about 25, 26 minutes. I know we both got meetings. Thanks for being on. Enjoy Sydney. You know what? This next week will be the last week we shoot this podcast from this office. Did you know that?
Yeah, because your house is closing.
That's right. The home office here is closing. The new owners move in October 1st. We're opening up our big United States headquarters out in Scottsdale, Arizona.
It's going to be good.
Here in a couple weeks, we've got our nice big office out there in Sydney, Australia, which I still have not seen because I can't get in from all the stupid COVID restrictions. But this next week will be our last podcast shot in this very office. Kind of sentimental to me. There you go. Been in this office for 3 years. All right, man.
It's a great office.
Thanks, everybody. And make sure you go join Sales Revolution. Like Matt says, there'll be a link here. You can join for free. We go live in there 3 or 4 times a week. Also, there's a survey. You'll fill out 2 or 3 questions. What industry you're in? What are your price points you sell, products and services? So we know what type of people are joining the group. And we DM you a private message right when you join. We'll tag you and we'll send you over a free training on how to prevent objections from happening. What questions you use for that. Enjoy that free training. Matt, thanks. Thanks, everybody, for being on. Hey guys, if you enjoyed these, here's another you can watch right over here. Join our free Sales Revolution group. Click the link below, join us, and we're going to help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.